Thank you so much for joining us on Straight Outta Savannah, Talking with Tammi. My guest, Lynda Abkemeier, is here, and she is going to share exactly who she is and what it is that she can do for you. Lynda, take it away.
Well, thank you, Tammi, for having me here. Super excited to be on today with you. I would say that I'm not really a huge fan of labels today, and that's something I'm working through. However, I would say I would consider myself an intuitive mystic, and that's kind of an umbrella of all the things that I do because there's just so much more than that. I am a psychic medium, and I'm the creator of Lin Mystic Effects. Uh, and I am which I believe is already in the notes. I am a advanced radical guide DNA activation practitioner. I am a radical guide integration specialist. I'd say, AKA shadow work master, although not anyone. I think no one is actually a master of shadow work. And I also, I have a passion for guiding others towards their path, especially I think women our age that are a little bit older. They are kind of coming out of like empty nesters or their kids are older and they're really just trying to figure out, you know, almost again, who am I?
Yes,
Where do I belong?
yes,
There's just so much of that happens. Although I speak to anyone that resonates with the messages or my story that I have to share, pretty much. Of course, I'm going to fall over my words. Pretty much, that's kind of the avenue that I want to go. I really feel strongly about the fact that um, we are told one way to live, but really there's your way to live. And basically, in a nutshell, I'm trying to help people understand that they can live their way and not necessarily how society or our generational traditions have led us to live, that there is a different way.
yes.
So that's really, I have a passion for that. And I just want to get that message out. So any way I can.
That is so awesome. So, what led you to this particular path? Was there like
Oh,
a dark night of the soul, or did you just begin to awaken? What led you to this path?
oh my gosh. Like how much time do we have? Because I could probably spend the whole hour just on this. I would say, I just like you and like a lot of other people that do the type of work, the healing work that we do, we've known from a really young age that there was something different, and maybe we couldn't put our finger on it, but we knew that there was something different, and we felt like we didn't fit in. For me personally, I knew things that I probably shouldn't have known as a 4-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, and that's where it started for me. So my clairs were starting to open up at that time, and then I would just have these experiences that I couldn't explain, and I really didn't have anybody in my life that I could even talk to about it. Like I quickly learned that this was not. It didn't feel like it was normal, and I knew to not really say anything. I knew to kind of bury it uh, from an early age. And so I spent most of my life having the experiences, but really trying to just really resisting all of it. And in that resistance, I would be consider myself oppositional defiant. I couldn't follow rules. I hated rules. Now I know why. That's a thing, right?
Yes.
And I was just working so hard at trying to fit in and not understanding that my path was different. It
Yes.
was going to be different for me, and it wasn't always going to be easy. And so I spent most of my time resisting that until I, became older, and my kids flew the coop, and I came and found myself in a position where I had to come to terms with the gifts and the abilities that I had.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being a psychic medium and having those abilities, uh, it's not readily welcome in society.
It's frowned on.
Right, it is absolutely frowned upon for various different reasons.
Yeah.
And it has been for, I think, forever. you know. I think there was a point in time in our history, in our world, where we were considered royalty in a way. Not to say I'm royalty. I mean, I think I'm a queen and everything,
Yes,
but
you are.
thank you. Took me a long time to say that with confidence.
Yes.
Uh, but I feel that there was a point in time where we were really held up to a standard of, we were medicine women, we were shaman, we were whatever culture
Midwives.
I go into, yeah, whatever culture you go into, you're going to find that mysticism in there. You're
Yes.
going to find your psychic mediums, you're going to find your intuitives, and they use their gifts all the time, especially
Yes.
like you talked about midwives. Yeah, I mean, they were like, some people would call the midwife before they would call the doctor,
Yes.
in some time. So yeah, it's definitely something that is in our history. It's nothing that it's about dismantling the story. And I think that's another thing that I'm very passionate about. Without me coming forward and being who I am, how is it possible for us to dismantle those stories that people have been told? Witches are bad, black cats are evil. Um, being a psychic, it means that you're a shyster. I could go on and on about what people believe.
Yes. Yes.
Or being a medium means you're going to get possessed, and you're doing the devil's work. It's I could go on and on and on about that. I'm here to dismantle that, and by coming forward and sharing my story and being who I am and doing the things that I was meant to do is part of doing that.
Yes.
It's not even that I can even tell people, because I think it's something that I just have to do and show them, that
So
this is who I am, and that this is my choice. I'm choosing to be who I am instead of being somebody I'm not. And I think that's where that my story comes, is that I made a choice to not be who they wanted me to be,
mm,
and to be who
good.
I knew I was. So having to dismantle and unravel that has been a huge chore. And it always has not been pretty. Um, I mean, there are ups and downs to being completely and brutally honest with yourself,
Yes.
right? To
Yes.
digging into that darkness
Yes.
along with the light, and learning to love that darkness along with the light.
Yes. And knowing how to integrate that.
So I would say about exactly. So it's like, once I recognize that this is an issue, how the hell do I get to a point where it's not an issue anymore?
Yes.
And that's why I'm fascinated by shadow work, and how much shadow work is part of my life, and it's what got me here, which is why I became an integration specialist, because it is literally all about walking people through that shadow work
Yes.
process. And it's just so important to move forward. We can't keep doing those things over and over and over again and expecting a different result if
Because
we
that's
haven't.
insanity.
Right, exactly. And shadow work is a remedy for that. That's how I see it, for me
Mhm.
anyway. I'm speaking of my own experience. But definitely. Uh, and where was I? So you asked me, so see how I go off on tangents? I could just talk forever.
And that's okay.
Yeah, where I came from was a place where I was not listening to my guides. I was not listening to my inner, my heart. And because of that, things were falling in around me, crumbling around me. And I knew I had to do something about that. I mean, I spent 23 years in occupational therapy using my gifts without my knowledge, really, but really using my gifts in that healing field, understanding for quite a few years I didn't belong there anymore. I was just too afraid to listen to where I did belong, because I understood the black mark that it has in our society. And so, like I said, I resisted a lot. And it got me to a point where things were so chaotic and such a mess. I had to walk away. I had to. there was no other way for me but to walk away.
Mm.
And it was the best damn thing I ever did. It was one of the best decisions I ever made. But I feel like spirit was absolutely, literally shoving me in that way. Like, you know how spirit can do when you're not
Yes, I
listening?
do.
Yep. It's not a tap, tap, tap. It is a literal shove, right?
It's a Martin Lawrence get the stepping type of kick. Yeah.
Yes. It's like,
So you
you need
are
to,
a resistant way shower.
yeah. Yes. I can see people's shadows. I can see where their resistances are. And I think the beauty of that is that because I had to experience it myself, I've gone through it myself.
Yes.
So I have a perspective of my own experience, although I understand that everybody's path and experience needs to be different. So
Yes.
my story, it isn't necessarily somebody else's story and their path, but I do have the ability to see that and help guide you through it. So
Yes.
then you can make your own decisions and make your own choices with what your path is going to look like for you. So yeah, I mean, it's just,
So do
it's all,
you feel like being an empath has helped you in that way so that you can be able to identify with people, even though it may be something different than what you experience, but you can still see the pattern for them?
yes, I think I spent most of my life as an empathic person and not understanding how to harness that.
Yes.
And so I absorbed so much energy.
Yes.
Um, and when I talk about energy, I want to just say, like, when people don't understand what we're talking about, when we talk about these energies, I like them to just look at quantum physics, and it will help you understand quantum healing, because that's what we're really talking about is quantum healing. All the modalities that we do is quantum
Yes.
healing. So
Yes.
that might be helpful for people to kind of understand where we're coming from in that way.
But
But I
if
feel,
you had to break it down to somebody that don't even understand quantum physics, how would you share that particular
oh,
aspect of it?
see, that's kind of, I mean, I think it's a tough question because obviously it depends on the person that I'm talking to and how I would
Mhm.
present that. Um, Most of the time, I just say, if we're looking at, if we want to do labels, we're doing left brain and right brain people that operate from one versus the other.
Right.
People are more intellectual, and it is harder to explain. That's why I use quantum physics for them to understand what quantum healing is.
Yes.
And I think I would have them tap into their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many different ways to do that. But I think under helping, oh, that's a tough question. It really is a tough, you like got me. That is a tough question
It's okay.
to,
You
in a
got,
nutshell, right?
I mean, even down to how you would even approach that. You could even talk about how you would approach that. Because I always think about um the movie with Denzel Washington and Tom Hanks, Philadelphia, when he was an attorney and he asked him, said, share with me like I'm a 2-year old. How would you share that? Because everybody wants to go, above and take the high road. But sometimes we have to bring it down to people so that they can understand, like on their level, because everybody just doesn't understand quantum physics and they don't have no idea what you're talking about when you say quantum healing.
Right,
So
right.
how would you break it down just even, to that level? Like, what would you say?
I think I would probably start with, have you ever walked into a room of people
Mm-hmm.
and you felt energies and you didn't know why, or
Mm-hmm.
you felt something from somebody and you didn't know why?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you could have walked in that room happy and energetic, and then you meet people and start talking to people, and all of a sudden you can feel your energy just kind of diminish, and
Yes.
then you feel sad. So, like, you notice, like, I'm sad and I don't understand why. That is people sharing energy with you.
Yes.
That's well, and I believe we're all empathic.
Yes. Yes.
It's whether or not we tap into it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're able to tap into it, or if it just comes more naturally to you. you're going to notice those things.
Yes.
So I would say that's probably, to a 2-year-old, that's kind of how I would explain it. And
Yes.
different people you get different feelings from different people. And
Yes.
that is that energy exchange that's happening.
Yes, that's perfect. My daughter shared something with me one time, and she was about maybe 9 or 10. And she said, Mommy, she said, can you feel and can you tell when people are good or bad?
Mm,
And I thought, wow. So, because I didn't believe in squashing my children's um, gifts, even at that time when I wasn't even in this space, but I still didn't believe in squashing them down. So I said to her, "Can you feel it?" And she said, "Yes." She said, "I can feel whether people are good or bad." Now the backstory of that is she was the type of kid that she just didn't let anybody touch her. She was that child. When she was a baby, she was all, oh my gosh, she was the most beautiful and the sweetest thing. But as she grew, I noticed she just would not let anybody touch her. And if they had bad energy, she would not let them touch her. You know how people always want to come hug kids and stuff?
hmm
No. And so that was something that I learned from her at that age. Kids feel it. And just like you said, when you walk in a room, can you feel these energies? And I would tell her, I said, well, that means that their spirit is not good, and yeah, so I think that's like the perfect thing. So if you encountered somebody that was at the space where you were when you began this journey, when you started on your awakening process and you started, learning all the things and doing all the stuff and, the things that we do when we begin to awaken, we start looking around to see what we can learn and, what we actually know. And just like as you are helping the women that come to you that want to figure out who the hell they are, because that's how we get and that's where we go, especially after we've been wives and mothers and all this stuff. We've been all these people to all these people, but we don't know who we are to ourselves. And
Right.
so if somebody, once they come to you, what is the process that you would take them on, the journey that you would take them on?
So if somebody comes to me for my services, or
Yeah,
did you want me to ask
they come to
the,
you and they're in that space where you were as you began to explore all these things.
well, the first thing that I do is I hold space. And I
Yes.
think it's super important to hold space. And that means that you don't respond with experience, or
Judge.
respond right with judgment, and respond with an antidote or trying to fix the situation. You
Yes.
don't do any of those things. You just hold that space and allow them to speak. You allow them to get it out. They allow them to do whatever they need to do. I think that's the first thing, is that listening.
Yes.
Like truly being present and listening to somebody,
Yes.
is the very first thing that I would do. And through that, a lot of times people would talk about their problems or their issues. And I had to learn this because I was a fixer. I
Yes.
was like,
You,
I'm gonna help everybody, and it's gonna be great, and I'm gonna do all the things. And I didn't understand that it probably wasn't the way, it was what I might need, but what they needed something different.
yes.
And nobody's, number one, no one's broken, so you can't really fix anybody.
Yes.
And it wasn't my responsibility.
You and I are the same in that. Yeah.
Right.
Had to learn
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it really was like I stepped my toes in places I didn't need to step my toes in. And I really tried to help people in really negative situations, or if they were faltering, and I was just trying to like make it better for them,
Yeah.
you know? And I had to learn uh that that's not always the way. That's, unless somebody asks you for your advice, hold space.
Yes. 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 Because sometimes we're naturally healers. And so we want to
hmm
heal people and we want to fix them and we want to make it all better. Plus, we're mothers. We want to make it all better. We want to kiss the boo boo and all this stuff, but sometimes that's not what we need to do, and that's not our job, our position.
Right. And
Oh,
I believe that we shouldn't be telling other people what to do, because what I've also learned is that the rule is there are no rules,
right.
right? And which means that societal rules or your family rules, those things are not necessarily your rules. So for me to tell somebody you should do this, this, and this, it's not going to be super helpful. I
Well,
can make suggestions on things that help me, or if they ask me to share my story, I'll share my story, and then they can take whatever resonates with them. So
but
I think I would really kind of approach it in that way,
yes,
where I'm not suggesting, hey, do DNA activation. Hey, hire me as a one-on-one for integration specialist. Let me walk you through your shadows. I just, I kind of want to lead by example, and by doing my best and just living my life the way I see it. And if people resonate with that and they resonate with my work that I talk about, then great. But I don't feel like I would bring those things up necessarily to
yes.
somebody that was coming to me initially.
And you don't want to
I
take the responsibility off of them, because that's the other piece.
Right.
You don't want them giving you their power, and you don't want them to make you responsible for fixing them. So, so
Exactly.
you don't want to do that. You want to help them arrive at their destination, in terms of, where they're trying to go, and what is it that they need to heal from or do or whatever, but they need to get there.
Right.
We're there as guides, correct?
Correct. And exactly. And I want to be able to guide people back to themselves.
Yes.
I think it's super important that we all learn that all the answers that we want and have are within us. They're not
Yes.
external from us. I mean, you can get confirmation from other people, but even then, you need to be able to listen and to yourself. So, somebody coming to me for the first time, I would hold space, but I also would say, how do you know yourself? Like, getting to know you, who you are, and what you're all about is important.
Yes.
You can do that through journaling, whether written or whether you know you're going to do video, like an audio, journaling, whatever it is, but journal to kind of get to know who you are,
Yeah.
and then what are some ways that you can connect with yourself. So I would probably suggest some ways that you can connect with yourself and what that looks like
Mhm.
I could go on and on about meditation and what meditation means in our society, or what people think it means in our society, and what it actually really is. Like
Yes.
that's a whole mini course that I'm going to be doing at some
Yeah.
point, is
Yes.
let's talk about what meditation really is
Yes.
to you.
Yes. Because it's personal, right?
It's absolutely personal.
Because
And
the way you meditate could be different from the way I meditate. I could meditate washing dishes,
exactly.
and I'm not
Going
always
for a
going to be
walk. Yep.
sitting on the, yeah, I'm not even always going to be sitting on the cross-legged floor and all that crap. I'm going to meditate laying down in my bed because I got back issues, and so people, it's like dismantling all of that is like perfect, because people think that they can't meditate. They think you have to meditate for an hour the first time. I tell them, I said, if you have never meditated, you better try 5 minutes, try two. You might want to
Right.
grab a guided one, and you know what I mean? I mean, it's so many different ways, but you're right about that. And that is so perfect for helping people to connect and come back to themselves. I love it.
Right. And I mean, yeah, I mean, meditation isn't sitting down and shutting up. Meditation's not shutting your mind off.
Yes.
There's just, yeah, I mean, so I really want to share that with people, and what does meditation look like for you?
Yes.
You know, it's part of getting to know who you are.
Yes.
What are your likes and dislikes? What are your desires and your dreams? Do you even know? Because
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, I had no freaking clue what my desires and dreams were when I started this journey.
Yeah.
I didn't know who I was, and I had to quickly get to know who I was, you know? So yeah, I mean, I hope those things are, would be helpful for them. And then I would just say, I'm here for you if you want to come back, if you have questions, if there's something you're struggling with, you know, I'm here to hold space for you. You know, and it's funny too, because I think one of the things that we have to learn, like I've had to learn, is that it's easy to hold space for another. It's easy to learn to hold space for another, because I think in that realm, people are going to learn that from that connection with me. They're going to learn how to hold space. But what I want, and I always say what I would love to see is for them to be receptive to other people holding space for them.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes. Yes. That's powerful.
Because as women in this society, we don't know how to receive. A lot of us don't really know how to receive,
Yes.
or we're lying to ourselves when we say we really know how to receive, you
Yeah.
know? And it's a practice. It's something that you have to keep doing. Like it's an ongoing thing. It's just not one day you go, oh, look at me. I'm like receiving all the things. It's going to keep coming up
Yeah.
because it's so embedded in within us. Well, it's embedded in our spiritual DNA, which is why DNA activation can be so important.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, I think that that's important um, to understand too. Yeah.
That's super important. You and I actually have had conversations about this because most of the time
Yes.
as women, it's expected that, we don't know how to receive, all we do is give, all this kind of stuff. But when you think about it, we're supposed to receive because we have the wombs. you know we
Exactly.
we are designed to receive, and if you don't have anybody teaching you that and sharing that and showing that with you. And like I said, I was different because my grandmother taught me that well,
Right.
but that
You were
was
lucky.
I was blessed because I mean,
Mhm.
most people, like you said, most women, they don't know how to, and they get to 50 and start trying to learn, how to receive, and it's amazing because that was one of the lessons that she made sure that she taught me before she, transitioned. She made sure that I knew that how to receive, and she made sure that I knew why to receive, which was something that I thought was just super amazing when I think back on it, like now, especially getting ready to write this book about her. It's like, okay, this is one of the things that the legacies that she left for me was to learn how to receive. And that was one of the things I tried to teach my daughter as well. This is how you receive. You don't, if somebody is giving you something, you take it and you bless them because you don't know the reason behind why they have to do it. Spirit might have put them on that path to learn how to give. And you're the willing
Exactly.
vessel. So you have to do it. So anyway, let's talk about where people no. First, I want to ask you, what do you see for your future with your business? Where do you see it going?
Oh, wow. So many directions, because I feel like spirit is just like going, wow, like we got all these things to do. Oh my God, she's listening and she's like taking action and she's doing all these things. Like we have these, yeah, that's exactly how it feels, right? I have
Mhm.
so many ideas and so many things. So I have to kind of like, rein myself in and try to just pay attention and do what I need to do. But Lin Mystic Effects, the name itself is part of my history. Um, Lynn being Lynda spelled Lin, like Linda, which is how my father actually named me when I was born. But it ended up getting changed to Lynda. So it's just a little bit of who I was when I was born. So my inner child is represented. Mystic is who I am now. And effect is just like the butterfly effect. Like I want to have an effect on the world. And so
Yes.
that name came to me through spirit. And I sat on it for a long time.
Yep, you
And
did.
so yeah, I said, like, I did. Like, what the hell's wrong with her? She's got it all in her hands. Why is she not doing anything with it? Um, so yeah, um, I would love, um, to go in the direction of continuing to guide other people back to themselves, however that looks for them. And that can be through DNA activation. It could be through the integration specialist. It can be through my intuitively blended program, which is where I'm also, I think I forgot to mention, I'm also Usui and Kundulini Reiki Master Practitioner. And so I do use those skills within my intuitively blended session. And so
Me through all of those.
Yeah. Well, and it's how I started. Like, I started with intuitively blended. It wasn't called that at the time, but that's the name that came to me through working with this. And it is all the things. It is I intuitively choose crystals and essential oils. I intuitively choose candles and inscribe candles with words that that just come to me from spirit. I burn that candle. So there's a little bit of candle magic going on there. I pull oracle cards for additional messages. I get channeled messages through working with the chakras. That's where I tend to see a lot of the darkness or things or barriers that are kind of holding people back that they can kind of focus on and look at.
Yes.
That's where I started with Lin Mystic Effect. That was where my passion started. And then I just added on as I had experiences myself. I know that I'm going to be writing books. I already know what the titles are going to be. So I know that is coming down the pike for me at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I want to continue doing the healing work that I believe everybody needs so desperately at this time in our world.
Yes.
And I want to be able to go where Lin Mystic Effect takes me.
That sounds awesome. So now let the people know how they can connect with you.
Let's see, my Instagram is, what is my Instagram? Sorry. And okay. You think I had it written down. Like, it's LLIN_mystic_effect for Instagram. My Facebook, Lynda Lynda Passeri, Passeri, Abkemeier. See, there's a little song that goes along with that. After 23 years of almost 23 years of marriage, I still have the little song for my last name. So there's that. And then my business page on Facebook is Lin Mystic Effects. And my email also is linmysticeffect@gmail.com. You'll find my my links on my Facebook business page if you're interested in peeking at them.
Awesome. So all of that also will be on the description of the video and the audio. She'll have a nice little bio, and also all of her links and everything will be on there, so that when you are ready to connect with Lin Mystic Effects, you'll have a way to do it. I'm so appreciative of Lynda for joining me on Straight Outta Savannah Talking with Tammi. This has been a fabulous show, just like all the rest of them. And I'm so grateful that she's come on here and she's done such an amazing job. So definitely reach out to her and connect with her so that she can help you to step into your greatest gift. All right, so thank you so much for joining us. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.